I'm going to open up the Monday, March 27th Board of Selectmen meeting. If you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. All right. Thank you all for coming. Doesn't seem to be nearly as jam-packed in here as it was last meeting. It is nice to have people here. There was nobody indicated there'd be any public comment, so we'll start with the warrants. And I'll make a motion to approve the payroll warrant 2339 in the amount of $198,442.72.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? I'll make a motion for bill warrant 2339 in the amount of $334,294.58, which breaks down to the town of $87,254.36, water and sewer $3,889.97, payroll withholding $4,781.87, light bills $201,679.18, grants and revolving $36,689.20.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor? We're going to approval of the minutes. I'm going to take the first one separate just because it is the executive session. I'll make a motion to approve the executive session minutes for October 20th, 2022.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? I'm going to make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen minutes for February 13th and the 27th.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Appointments of the board. You wanna make that motion?
Oh, sure. Sam, he wants this position, huh? Okay, so I'll make a motion to appoint Sam Joslin to the position of Inspector of Animals effective May 1st, 2023 until April 30th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What does the job entail?
Inspecting any of the farms, horses, any areas where animals are kept in a large capacity. That's, if somebody complains about it, that's who's going to go out there and inspect.
But not the animals themselves. I'm just curious. The building inspector's good with animals? Is he a vet tech?
Not at all.
Okay, that's
He's
all.
going to inspect for clean conditions.
No one else wanted the
Habitat.
job.
Yeah, well, it doesn't pay much, so if you volunteered to do it, we should have it
Okay,
required, so
all right, thank you.
thank you. Any further discussion? I'd like to say thank you just because it is required and he did volunteer for it, so thank you, Sam. And all in favor? Discussion and possible vote. The Knights of Columbus, Fred Hull, is requesting the use of the Pines Recreation Area Utility Field 1 for an Easter egg hunt on April 1st, 2023, from 8 to 12.
So I'll make a motion to approve the request to use the Pines Recreation Area Utility Field Number 1 for an Easter egg hunt on April 1st, 2023, from 8 a.m. to noon.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Pentucket Youth Soccer is requesting the use of Shanahan Field from April 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2023 During the week, it is from 4 to 7 for practices, and weekends 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for games. Is that what you're here for? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you like to make a motion?
Did we do something with is there a Groveland Youth Soccer?
Yes, there's the Groveland Youth Soccer, and then there's the Pentucket Youth Soccer, and they are both at the same location, and they separate the field into 2 playing fields.
Okay, well, okay. I'm looking at this going, didn't we just give this field away? Thank you for clarifying that. I'll make a motion to approve the Pentucket Youth Soccer request to use the Shanahan Field from April 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2023. During the week, it is from 4 to 7 p.m. for practices, weekends 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for games.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Welcome.
Thank you. We have a request from Lauren Gill of 3 Oakland Terrace to add a street light on pole number 23 Salem Street at Oakland Terrace. I believe in our paperwork, we have a letter from Kevin Snow
We do.
that states that he's in favor of such.
So I'll make a motion to approve the request to add a street line on pole number 23 on Salem Street at Oakland Terrace.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? We're going to vote to sign the GHA 2023 Capital Funds Form.
Yes.
We have that here.
Yes, and this was a matter that the board asked to table at the last meeting, and additional information was included in your packet from the Groveland Housing Authority about the specifics and how it is required under state legislation for the Board of Selectmen to sign off on that form in order for them to move forward.
Yes.
So.
You had waited for the
Right.
information.
So I'll make the motion and second under discussion. I can just say what I
Yep.
thought. So I'll make a motion to approve the request for Groveland Housing Authority 2023 capital funds and authorize the chairman of the board to sign on behalf of the board.
And I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Under discussion, I saw that it entails $133,000, right, to change the closet doors to open out instead of in, and something about shutters or shades, blinds. Pull cords on blinds. I guess everything adds up.
It had to do with accessibility and convenience for the
Right, no,
tenants.
she described it. It was helpful to learn a little bit more about it, and I appreciate the effort they went to provide more information.
Anybody else? All in favor? We have the formal request for the police chief to renew his contract. So I think we need to decide on the procedure and how we're going to do that. I know in the past, it's usually been the finance director, or whoever's in charge of doing the contracts. And we should probably vote on how we plan on doing that. Whether we put it all on Rebecca to go ahead and do the negotiating and finalizing of it, the contract, which is typically what the town does. So, anybody have an objection to that?
No? You need a motion?
Subject to our final review, of course, right?
Of course.
Of course. So you'll meet with him, hammer it out, give us any differences, and we'll go from there and meet an executive session if we need to, or?
Put that in the motion?
Yes, I make a motion to authorize the town administrator to negotiate with the police chief to renew his contract.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Now we have the town administrator review. First ever, we did just receive this tonight,
I know,
so I would,
down to the wire.
well, it's a very timely process, and I want to thank you for putting it together, because it does take a lot of work. So I think we should probably table this until next
That's
meeting.
fine. I'm fine with that. Like I said, it was a little intimidating, and then I started to do it, and I thought, this isn't too bad.
Well, just the fact that you were able to decipher most of my reading is pretty good, most of my
There
writing.
was a particular word, took me a while, turning the page around.
At least I gave her fair warning.
Right.
I knew mine was gonna be ugly.
Yeah, I mean, so what it entails then is the summary report, the table where I'll just walk you through,
Yeah.
the table where I summarize the results, and then, of course, the individual forms.
Hey,
and-
did you give a copy to Rebecca?
Yes, I did, and I gave her the originals, so you have the original forms on file here. Other than that, I mean,
So we'll entertain a motion to table that until next meeting.
sure, I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second that.
All in favor? We have discussion of the budget itself.
So the budget that you have before you this evening is the budget that was voted on by the Finance Committee at their last meeting.
Was there any notable changes?
The only changes substantial were in the wage adjustments that reflected some of the recommendations from the Collins study. Otherwise, it resembles very much what you see in the binder that was provided to you in the beginning of the process, where departments had made their request for their expense line items, et cetera.
Okay. Does anybody have anything specific they'd like to discuss?
Well, I did actually sit in on the finance board meeting, and so I thought it was interesting. We know that we authorized the salary study to compare Groveland's jobs to surrounding communities, and I think we weren't surprised to see that we were below. And so what the financial board endeavored to do is to take an amount of money, I think it ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200,000, and to prorate it to each position in a fair and equitable manner, similar to what we did when we did the premium pay. If you remember that, without getting into, I didn't see the spreadsheet, but there was a spreadsheet, and this is similar to that, so that it brings the positions up to not quite the median, right? Am I correct on that? Not quite the median, not even maybe the average, but at least not at the bottom any longer. It made some sense in this year to think about, we've been waiting for this study, we got the study, what do we do about the study? Well, we asked the people, do you want to do a one-time adjustment to bring our town employees up to a fair wage based on a comparison to similar towns, similar positions, so that we don't become a revolving door for jobs here, and we also adequately pay our employees for the work that they're doing for us. And so that's what this green column reflects. It's probably a long time overdue, honestly. We've seen employees have to get up on their own to try to adjust their wage. We've seen town departments have to argue for wages for their employees. We've seen department heads have to argue for fair wages compared to surrounding towns. I think if we were able possibly to do this in one step like this, to bring everybody at the same time to what as fair as we can get with available money, I would hope that that would be well received by our employees, and I would hope that the residents of the town would feel very good about being able to do this for the people that have worked here, some of them for a long time and some of them within the last decade, but definitely all of them through this pandemic and everything else that it entailed.
I know for myself, it's definitely a step in the right direction to do that. And move. The 3 years that I've been on this board, there's always been open spots that we've tried to fill. And because we haven't been competitive in the market, we haven't been able to fill them. And ultimately, it hurts the services that we're able to provide for the town. So it's definitely a step in the right direction, a necessity, in my opinion. So, Anybody else?
No.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the fire department salaries. It's going from 270-ish to 344. $74,000 increase in salaries, about over 30% increase. Is that due to additional hires or straight up pay raises or a combination of both?
You could probably answer it better.
It's the addition of the 2 full-time firefighters. The SAFER grant that the board elected to take only paid for the firefighters for 3 years. It's on a calendar basis, so we are on the hook for the latter part of the year. So from January until June, we'll need to have that funding available. So those are 2 full-time firefighters and not their full salary, which we will have to have available the next fiscal year, so fiscal year '25. So that increase is the career firefighters in that half year.
Okay. I think it's at the bottom of the second page, unclassified budget, $844,000 increased to $894,000. That's a $50,000 increase. What is considered unclassified for $894,000?
Unclassified is our Essex County retirement contribution, our unemployment compensation, Medicare tax, OPEB trust, Memorial Day services, street lighting, and sealer of weights and measures. So the biggest jump that you're seeing is in the Essex County retirement contribution and the Medicare tax,
Why the Medicare tax?
because the wages increased and it's a percentage based on the gross salaries.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
Rubbish. Rubbish.
Is that a statement or a question?
It's all rubbish. We have a contract, and my understanding, the rubbish contract has escalations in it 5% a year?
No.
No?
More than that.
Plus tonnage, so it's twofold. Right? So is our tonnage up, and am I correct on the 5%?
No. The increase was first proposed at 7% across the board for the 5 years, each year.
We didn't agree to that.
We didn't agree to that. We opted to go lower at first and increase up to it to give us an opportunity to build up to it because it was such a large increase.
So what is it this year?
I believe this year this is the second or third year.
This is the second.
This is 7, it was 5 last year, 7 this year, and it'll be 9 and 11. 9.
So it's, last year, the collection per year was 389,000 with the $81.50 per ton. And then the upcoming is, that was fiscal year 21, fiscal year 22 was $430,000 with an $84 per ton. And this upcoming year is $480,000 with a $90 per ton.
But the incremental increases based on that is why it's such a large increase to this year. And there will be another large increase next year, as well as the year after.
Okay. It's in the contract. It's not just tonnage, so
No, it's not
there's
just
not much we
tonnage.
can do about dropping the amount of rubbish.
And that actually, from the discussions we had, what they were asking for put us in line with what everybody else was getting. And that's why it didn't go out to bid, because they felt that we weren't going to be able to gain anything by doing that, because they underbid it so much to get the job. And they had advantages over the other trash companies. Moving forward, I know that I discussed it with the town administrator and the previous board, that it was going to be extremely important that we were prepared and we went out to bid as soon as it was feasible to do so. because now we're gonna be in a competitive market where people can actually vie for it. And hopefully, the trash companies like JRM, who shut down Lawrence and didn't pick up their trash for an entire month because they were in the process of getting sold, that doesn't happen if we end up changing or moving forward with a different company.
One more thing.
That's a
Yes.
bright thought.
Debt service looked like it went down a smidgen, 382 to 376. Do we have any debt that's maturing, or was it a change in a variable rate? How did that go down?
Which one in the debt? I'm sorry, I didn't
It's
hear you.
above unclassified on page 2 at the bottom, debt service, 382 down to 376.
The long-term interest changed,
Yeah, the total debt budget.
goes down
Yeah, why'd it go down at all?
because of the interest payments.
The long-term interest rate.
Paying down the principal on it, and it's just amortizing over the years, and we haven't taken on any new debt.
We have not taken on any more due.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
You, Mark? Good. So I think we need a vote to move favorable on the budget.
Do we want to do it section by section, or do you want to do it as one total budget, the omnibus? I don't know. I can do it either way.
I think we've had our opportunity to discuss it, so I think we should just,
Okay, I make a
Do the whole
motion to approve 23,046,806 in alignment with the Finance Board recommendation for the fiscal 2024 omnibus budget.
I'll second that.
any further discussion? The only thing I would like to say is I'd really like to thank the Finance Board, because I know they put a lot of work into this and coming up with these and meeting with the individual department heads, and it's quite a task to put these together, so I want to thank them.
I echo that. I think the departments for taking the time out to meet with the board. I know that the Board of Selectmen, we rarely have time to meet with every single department and go through all their line items. We get the budget book and we can go through the lines on our own time, but our meetings tend to be fairly packed. And just sitting in on that one meeting, it was clear they were, catching small errors and correcting things and cleaning this omnibus up for us so that we could just basically review it in the amount of time we have allocated at our meeting. I appreciate that. I appreciate the departments cooperating with them to give us a budget that it's very reasonable, except, we are trying to make the salary adjustment. I won't lie or hide that from anybody. I think it's about 15 to 20 years overdue. We've lost staff members because of this. At some point, people are not going to be willing to compromise, $5,000 to $10,000 of their salary just to have a shorter commute. They'll be willing to drive 15 more minutes to the town next door, who took our assistant treasurer at the beginning of the pandemic, and is probably waiting for others. So I'm hopeful that people will realize we run a very lean and mean staff in all our departments. There's no big departments here, really. Maybe just the volunteer firemen when there's a real fire and everybody shows up, but we have really small staffing. Some departments are one person, two at best. Some days we've kept it as about affordable as we can, but we can't make these dollars go any further without reaching decent compensation for people.
All right, all in favor? All right, next is the annual town meeting warrant. We have some of the draft here. Has everybody had an opportunity to go over what we didn't discuss last time? Because if not, we will have time to do it next meeting, so we could table it.
It'd be nice to do like the regular ones that we see every year, and if there's any ones that are questionable, then maybe highlight those, but like we always do the Chapter 90 funds, the weights and measures, Articles 2 and 3.
It would be beneficial as well to see if there's any specific warrant articles that the board would like to invite the departments or the staff that submitted them to get more feedback or ask them any additional questions, just so that they have time to make sure that they're here or can provide additional information. So if there is any guidance or at least a general understanding of the direction the board would like to go in, that would be helpful for us while we prepare this and make sure that everything is where it needs to be. Once we do vote on April 10th, we will have a very short turnaround time to get this over to the town clerk in order to post accordingly for the town meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
motion to table.
Well, I would like to do this, the regular ones and get them off, so we can just highlight the ones that we have questions on. So, I mean, it's only
It can even
7
take a
o'clock.
few minutes and just go browse through it.
Like the
I'm not opposed to that.
Article 2 is a standard article. I'd rather spend a little extra time tonight than end up. My concern is that if we hold off to the next meeting, it's making it very tight for the posting requirement.
It means we'll be here until it's done, next meeting.
Well, yes, but the problem is, I think when you keep running up into that, what if something goes wrong, weather-wise
Oh,
or
I agree.
otherwise, you're running into a posting of what, 2 days leeway? 2 days, that's not a lot of time.
Well, we definitely have the time today, so.
I
if
think
you
we have a
wanna
lot
grab
of
some
time
these-
tonight, so why can't we just kind of go through these and see if we can?
Mr.
All
Chair.
we're doing is recommending. If we're not ready to recommend, do we have to table the whole posting of the warrant, or do we?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I would recommend favorable to authorize the petition for Chapter 90 funds, Article 2. I'll make a motion for favorable.
I would second that. Anybody else further discussion for that? Chapter 90 is your friend.
Oh, yeah. I got many friends.
All in favor?
And Article 3, accepting a mass general law for weights and measures. I would recommend favorable for that. It's straightforward.
I'd second that. Any other discussion?
What are weights and measures? What do we
Article
weigh?
3?
Huh? What do we weigh?
We had the scales. They used to be in the back cabin. I don't know.
For
where-
what? Well, weighing gold? I don't understand. Pardon my ignorance.
You know more about that? It had to do with the gas
It's the gas
station.
station.
Yeah, it has to
and
do with
it-
gas stations.
And technically, we have to pay that. Right now, it's a charge since we're not charging for it. So we have to pay $750 to the state every year, and this will allow us to charge those that we have to go out and inspect.
That's outrageous. U.S. state government, folks. What if we don't adopt it and we don't have to pay? We save the $754?
We're already paying it because we're required to. This just allows us to raise fees for those who are utilizing that service so that they're paying for it and not the taxpayers.
And we don't do that currently.
Exactly.
Why not?
That's why we're trying
I
to.
don't own a gas station in town.
So vote yes.
All right, move the question.
All in favor?
You want to wait on the easements? You want to see the maps or something? I don't know about the easements.
I'd like to find out more and wait for Chairman Watson as well. And any of the abutters, if they care.
About Article 6, appointing so that we have a Board of Assessors. So we have not had about a Board of Assessors in, I wanna say,
Changing it from elected to appointed.
We haven't had a full board, I think, in 10 or more years, 15 years. We've always had like one or
Which was
two
also the recommendation of the
state and local services. Yep, financial review. Mhm.
This would still require a ballot vote next year, so this is just to get it on the ballot for next year.
Oh, okay, and it goes to the ballot.
Has no one run for those positions?
Yeah,
Nobody cares.
we usually have a write-in. We write in Bill Dark and Dana Moody.
Fred Flintstone,
No,
that's what I write.
William Dark. And Dana Moody have been coerced into doing it for a couple of years here.
So if we actually get somebody in there that can do it, it may benefit the town as well as the residents. So I think it is important.
So this would allow it to go to a ballot vote in a year, and that makes sense. So I would recommend favorable action.
Second it.
All in favor?
I don't know what Article 7 is.
Do we have any boarding houses or lodging in town?
So our fire chief is currently with us this evening, and he can speak towards both of them. He's been working with the building commissioner on both Article number 7 and Article number 8.
Look at his face.
What is the question?
These two articles are we're accepting Mass General Law, section, well, C 148, 26H for lodging or boarding houses. So
Yes.
does this mean any new lodging or boarding houses would?
Any
need-
new lodging or boarding houses would be required to have sprinkler systems in them. Currently, we have 3 in town. One has a sprinkler, 2 have a sprinkler systems, the third does not. We would require any in the future to have sprinkler systems and fire alarm systems.
So that would be a new construction or something
Yes.
that's being
An-
renovated? into-
Anything renovated that's being created as a boarding house.
Okay, that makes sense. I would be in favor of that. And then in Article 8,
Where are the boarding houses?
1 Marjorie, 2 Ann, and then there's a new one on Main Street, right across from the school. And we just had a incident in one of those boarding houses where a disgruntled resident tried to set it on fire, so it's, the need for sprinkler systems is real.
Make a motion to adopt it.
Article 7, make a
Yes.
motion for favorable. I'll second that.
Just 7. I had questions on 8.
Yeah, well,
8 if
just
we're,
7, let's do 7.
just do
first,
7.
And then we'll talk about 8.
All in favor?
Okay. So what about Article 8?
I have questions on that for the chief. Says multi-family dwelling units. Right, is there a square footage? Does that mean 2 families or more than 2? Because 2 family, side by side, duplex, I don't know that it's necessary. You can,
Side by side is not. Number of stories. NFPA requires anything more than 3 stories
yeah.
to have sprinklers.
Does the detail on that spell that out?
If it's
As
saying in accordance with the NFPA and the Mass General laws, then yes, it specifies it in the laws.
So you typical 2-family, 2-unit duplex
Two
would not
duplex next
would
door
not
is-
require?
No.
What about a 3-family?
3-family, once you start going to third, 3 stories and above, yes,
But if the units were on 2, you're fine without it.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
So make a recommendation for favorable action on Article 8?
I'll make a motion, we vote for favorable action on Article 8.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
And Article 9, I think, Rebecca, you can talk to us about that, right?
Yes, essentially, we're looking to change the name of the Pines Maintenance Revolving Fund, so that we can then utilize those funds to care for all of our recreational facilities, the Shanahan, Washington, and make sure that we're helping our volunteers maintain our fields and have the proper resources in order to fund such assistance.
Anybody have any questions about that?
I do have one. I just wanted, it says authorize spending limits for revolving accounts. So would you envision there'll be a bunch of accounts, or is it just going to be one account?
So we also have, so essentially there's two. There's the one that's the Pines Maintenance Revolving Fund to the Recreation Maintenance and Operating Revolving Fund.
Okay,
And
that's the
then
name change.
we're looking to create the Conservation Commission Revolving Fund because right now, currently, they have a fee account. And it's not set up properly, so under the Wetlands Protection Act, we're creating a revolving fund, per their regulations. And then we're also, in that same article, authorizing the spending limits for revolving accounts because we also have the Pines, boat ramp, the CPR, and we have other revolving accounts that we typically set that spending limit for the following fiscal year.
Okay. So this would all be in one article?
Yes.
Okay. I move favorable on this. The name change and the creation of the Conservation Revolving Account Fund maybe makes more sense than what we were doing before, right? That was problematic. Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
And what about the evening hours?
So currently in the bylaw, it says that the Office of the Treasurer Collector and the Town Clerk will be open until 8 PM on Monday. And we are asking that they be open until 6:30 PM on Monday. So still late so that they are open to the public after business hours. So those that are not local can come home and make sure that they can visit Town Hall and utilize those services. But also not making it as late as we're not seeing as much foot traffic. A lot of things happen earlier on in the evening. Some of the office staff like to attend the Board of Selectmen meetings. And also, again, most of the business can be handled online these days.
So basically, instead of having to come back here or sit around with no pay and then work 6:30 to 8 or something, they would just stay from 4 to 6:30 and then be able to leave.
Exactly.
I'll make-
Make up the rest of the hours if they need to per their hourly
Yeah.
obligations.
I would move favorable action for that, for Article 10.
Any more questions?
Want to
Right.
second it and open it for
I'll second it and open it.
Okay.
further discussion?
Yes. If they want to come into our meetings, I mean, if they work later than 6:30, then they get paid for their time, and I think they should. So wouldn't it make more sense to have them maybe come in or have hours till 7? Because if they're paid till 6:30 and they want to attend our meeting, then it's off the clock and they're still conducting business as far as I'm concerned.
I
So,
don't think there'd be any problem if you wanted to change that to 7. I think it's just when it gets past that, I mean, it's rare that you see anybody in the building other than 3 employees.
I mean, I don't know that we need them for lengthy discussions when they have come in here. It's been short. I mean, 7,
Let's go,
I think like 6:45 or 7 would make more sense.
Dan. Can I just ask a clarifying question? So I think what you're talking about is, what Rebecca's saying is they're, in our bylaw or general law, whatever it is, they have to close up at 4 and then they have to hang around and open back up at 6:30 to 8 for the public.
Oh, I thought they stayed.
Well, some of them do. I mean, it depends on, but literally they have to figure out how they're gonna do this. And they have to be open till 8 right now because of our bylaw, am I right?
Just those 2 offices, all
Yeah.
other offices are closed.
Everybody else can do what they want. So what we're proposing is to move those hours, that people coming home from work from 4 to 6:30 would have the extended opportunity to come here and conduct their business up until 6:30.
I mean, the other thing is if they needed to come before us, we could just change our Board of Selectmen meeting till 6:30 or 6:15 to accommodate them.
Well, yes, but I mean, for
You
them
know.
having to be in their offices, we're saying that Monday, they can just go straight through to 6:30 and be done.
So 8 o'clock's overkill.
Nobody's coming out really, yeah.
Is that what they want?
It's-
Who
it's-
initiated this? Was it the,
In talking with the treasurer collector's office, nobody comes in after 7 o'clock. And so, like we said, with the online billing and payable and with COVID and things, people were utilizing that service a lot more and saw the convenience in it. I know also a lot of those departments, they make changes where necessary and they're flexible towards people's schedules and they try and accommodate. So they'll stay later one night because somebody wants to be there at 5, but they technically leave at 4:30. So they try and be flexible to the residents as needed based upon whatever it is that they're looking for. But yes, essentially, they're saying that anything later than 7 has been, there's just nobody that comes in, and it's really late by the time they get home and get up the next day. It's just nice to have that accommodation.
I don't want to micromanage it, but if there's activity between 6:30 and 7, would 7 make more sense?
We can do 7.
Well, I'm just asking the question. I don't know the answer.
I don't think it would, I don't think it makes it if 6:30 or 7. I mean, essentially, anything after 7 is what the issue is.
It's a waste of
Yes,
time.
nobody is coming in. You might see one person from time to time, or a Board of Selectmen member after a meeting.
I think 7 would make more sense.
Make a friendly amendment.
Make a friendly amendment to change it 1 hour down to 7 p.m.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Article 11, that would be yours?
So we're asking to increase the capital improvement funding threshold from 10 to 20, as a lot of the projects have now, that's a simple, small project in today's realm. And we're also looking to make that adjustment in our regional school agreement, so it will be reflective of what the other tri-towns are doing as well.
Do you have any idea when the last time it was increased? When 10,000 came into effect?
Actually, it,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We especially need it on the regional agreement because we're responsible for capital and the regional district is responsible for under capital. So right now, 10,000 or above, the town has to pick up anything on Bagnell.
And I'm
Moving up to 20 would be
Yes,
beneficial.
then they would be more responsible for some of the smaller maintenance items that we've been having to pick up.
and I misspoke. It was amended April 30th, 2007 by changing the cost in line 3 from 5,000 to 10,000.
That was a big jump for us.
Everything's a big jump nowadays.
I know. Well, we're catching up.
Do you want to put that in the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a favorable action for, move favorable recommendation for Article 11 to amend the general bylaw for the capital funding threshold to raise it to $20,000, more in line with today's costs.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Article 12, do we have a person that asked for this?
Yes, that would be the town clerk, and it has something to do with the way that that it's counted. I don't know if she's here, but it's definitely something that other towns are doing, and she has more information in relation to that, but I did have it run by town council as well to make sure that it was written in a way that there would no issues with overtime or anything else for those employees that work on Saturdays. It's specific to, I believe, some type of voting registration or something about that. I don't want to speak out of turn. She would have more information, but the town clerk was the one who submitted it, and it is something that's being done in many other surrounding municipalities as well.
And so our town council reviewed it and said this is in line?
Yes, but we can let the clerk know that we have more questions about it, obviously, at the next meeting, and have her explain more detail. And I just don't want to speak out of turn. I know it has something to do with counting the days and how that's incorporated, but I just don't know the specifics.
Yeah, with the town clerk's office not open on Saturday, I imagine it would lengthen some of those times. 'Cause it would stick a day or two in there. Does anybody else have any other questions? Would like to speak with the town clerk, or?
I mean, I don't think anybody should be forced to open their offices on Saturdays all the time. I mean, I don't know, so we need to accept this so that they have some discretion on any or all Saturdays, right? So they can't be told they have to be open on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's more towards just the counting of the public
Okay.
hearings and stuff. but-
Well, I'm fine with it if the town attorney has been fine with it. I'm not an attorney, so I wouldn't, even if they explained it, I would still ask what the town attorney said.
Put it in a motion.
So I would move it as favorable if the town attorney has said it's in line with other towns. Town clerk has asked for it, right?
Yes.
And the town attorney has said this is in line with other towns. That's,
Fine with me, I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I'm not clear on who initiated it and why.
The town clerk specifically requested it, and it has to do with the way that you count the number of days required before filing, I don't know, filing for what, like nomination papers or election, and when you have to keep the office open.
So it's a skip day, so she wants to buy time by skipping Saturdays. Is that the reason?
I don't know enough about it, so I would defer to her. I just know that it has to do with the count.
Can we ask her?
I'm fine with asking her.
I think we ought to table it. I mean, I'm curious why it's being changed and what are the ramifications of it.
do you want to table it?
I think so. I don't understand what, I don't
If she's here,
understand
we
that.
can maybe take
I
care
don't
of
understand
it.
the ripple effect on it,
Buckets.
you know?
I don't think I've ever had to come down on this Saturday to the town clerk's office.
I just know our big issue is to make sure that it didn't impact overtime or anybody else's schedule, and that's what I definitely confirmed with town council.
So if someone comes in on Saturday, we have to pay them time and a half. But that's discretionary. You can't make them. I mean, but if they came in just to do some work,
Not necessarily the town clerk side of things. I was more concerned about our highway crew, water, so like all
town
of our.
clerk
other-
salaried, right?
Yes,
Right, there's not an hourly position.
yes.
Well, doesn't highway work 7 days a week if they're needed? And they're subject to the overtime laws? So,
I just wanted to make sure the language made sure that that was a protected status, but as to what the specifics of the counting, that the town clerk can
right,
answer.
and who drafted this?
So the town clerk submitted the language, I did have town council approve it, and again, we made sure that there wouldn't be any impact to the overtime laws.
Oh,
It's the reason for the change, I guess. Can you clarify it for me?
Yes.
Please.
So you're asking why I'm asking for Saturday to be considered a holiday?
Yeah, what does
but
it do? What benefit, burdens, if any?
The legislature, in their infinite wisdom, often choose 10 days as the countback day,
Yeah.
and that falls on a Saturday if your election is on a Tuesday.
oh.
So this would fall to the prior Friday. It wouldn't include Saturday as one of the eligible days. It doesn't count during a state election, because for a state election, it's overridden, and it would still be the Saturday would be the last day to register to vote. So that's all it does, is when you're counting back for days, you don't count Saturday, you bounce back to the day
So
prior.
it buys you some time, which is good.
Well, it's just so that you don't have to come in on a Saturday when you're not scheduled to work on a Saturday.
Does it impact any other department other than the clerk's office?
No.
Does not.
It-
It's
it does-
specific to your
Well, it would
office.
close the building. It would say that the building is closed on a Saturday for business,
For business.
correct?
But employees could access the building as if they had a key and they wanted to do
Absolutely.
something and catch up on something. It
Yes.
wouldn't prohibit that in any way from somebody working there.
Correct, and it does not affect contract employees either.
Okay.
That was confirmed by town council, and they said that they revised the language so you don't have any overtime and holiday problems elsewhere in town. But otherwise, it was relatively the same language that was submitted.
It
Okay.
was recommended by the Secretary of State's office to adopt it if you hadn't, and then if any of our elections ever fell on a Tuesday, Saturday would not be the last day to register.
All right, just wanted the why. They might recommend it, but doesn't mean I'm gonna agree with it. I'm always skeptical about Beacon Hill.
All set?
You move favorable?
Move favorable, yeah.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Now, as long as we have the town clerk here, the next two articles are yours? 13
Dog
and-
licensing?
Dog licensing?
That's just increasing the fees, correct?
That's it. And it also exempts seniors.
So Article 13, amend the general bylaw for licensing of dogs and kennels. And then accept the provisions of the general law 140 relative to dog license fees. Is that the exemption, Article
Yes.
14?
For the-
And then Article 13 is just raising fees?
Yes.
Okay.
One is just to raise the fees, the other is the exemption for
Okay.
seniors.
I move favorable on Articles 13 and 14 for recommendation.
Second that.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. Why do you want to raise dog fees? I mean, what does it cost the town in terms of burdens to have dogs in town?
It's just the cost of the fee. Currently, for a spayed or neutered dog, it's $5.
Yeah.
So by the time you purchase the tags, the paper,
Stamps.
the stamps to mail it out, it costs you almost $5 to send out a tag to an owner.
Yeah. So what do you want to go up
By
to?
law, but to $10.
That's outrageous. It's doubling the fee. It's a 100% increase.
It is.
I think we should,
Fees haven't been touched in a long time. Most towns are higher.
maybe we could index it to the consumer price index or something, you know? You know?
Which is why I included the exemption for seniors, because I didn't want it to go up for seniors either.
Seniors over 55?
70, I believe it says.
Exempt dogs under 25 pounds?
No,
Are those cats?
Dogs over 50.
cats aren't included.
My dog, but I don't want any conflicts of interest, you know? I just thinking of others.
Thank you.
Okay.
So recommend favorable action on 13 and 14?
All in favor?
Well, I want to know about the kennels. What are we doing with the kennels?
The kennels bumped up also because it didn't make sense with the current rate if I didn't bump the kennels as well. So
How much is the kennel fee?
kennel fee is 5 and over, and they went up by $10 as well.
But there's no other, like, regulatory restrictions that affect the kennels.
That's part of the police department. The police have to go out and check the location to verify that everything is okay by the state standards to have a kennel. So if you have more than 5 dogs, it's cheaper to have a kennel and pay the kennel fee than it is to register all 5 dogs.
Okay. But they're all nominal costs, relatively speaking. But there's no other restrictions on kennels or anything like that. It's just this authorizes the town to raise the fees to what you've requested.
So there were fees that existed in the bylaws already. I bumped those along with bumping the regular fees. But it doesn't change when the police come out and have to take a look at the site and verify that it's eligible to be a kennel. So that's, I'm not speaking to that, just the fee to say I have a kennel.
It's very specific, fees. Thank you.
All in favor?
13 and 14, okay, good. Let's go. What do the library trustees want? Anybody from the library here? Nobody?
No, but essentially you'll see that the changes are not substantial to some extent. They're just looking to make sure that their bylaw does not conflict. So in one section of their bylaw, it said that they would appoint the director, and then in another area of the bylaw, it said the Board of Selectmen would, so they changed that, and then they clarified some of the language and some of their process. They want to have the meeting notice filed 1 week prior to the meeting date and time instead of the statutory time frame of 48 hours. And then they just changed some language here and there. Nothing really substantial. But I can let them know that you have further questions, and I can have somebody from the library, Board of Library Trustees here to answer. Again, I don't want to speak on anyone's behalf.
They asked for this to be on the warrant, and the town attorney will look it over, and the
Yep.
town meeting will discuss it. I would just move it to the warrant as favorable, unless we hear otherwise from town attorney.
Second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
So Article 16, is this our building code or something?
So this is our general bylaw. 2 years ago, we had a contract with E-Code, General Code, and they codified our bylaw and our zoning bylaw. They also worked with the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board on their subdivision rules and regulations. So this would do, and this project was funded through a warrant article in 2020. And so the final product is ready to be adopted, and this is the language that we need to move forward, and the actual red line version will be a part of the warrant so that everyone will be able to see that, and it will also be shared online prior to the town meeting, as well as a copy in the clerk's office for anybody who wants to see the specifics. But as you can see, it's really renumbering and changing the Mass General laws to be reflective of what's currently there, any spelling errors and things of that nature. Anything that's large was taken out so that it could be voted on independently and evaluated accordingly.
Do we even recommend on this? We do, because it's general laws? Yes? Board of Selectmen, yes? I mean, this is grammatical and sequencing and spelling errors, so I would, fine. We move that on the warrant with a favorable. These are not changes to the laws.
No,
No,
those
these are
ones have been
corrections,
pulled out.
spelling errors, resequencing, and grammatical.
And this will place it all online as well, so I think one of the biggest things that we have a problem with is going back into our town meeting warrants and figuring out when things were changed or when things were updated. And this will allow us to see specifically when town meeting changed it and what was changed, and look at the prior versions. This can be very helpful in a zoning standpoint, but also from a general bylaw standpoint, because sometimes those grandfathered status, if you will, based upon what we have in our bylaws and why things were done the way they were, so it gives us a better historic view of exactly what we did and where we're going.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Is the zoning board of appeals gonna vote on the, recommend on the zoning articles?
So the planning board
Or the planning board?
had a hearing, and they voted favorable recommendation on all of the articles that you see before you. And as well, the planning board will be present at town meeting, or the chair will be present at town meeting to give their report on all of these articles as well.
And that covers 17 through,
20.
Are you on the planning board now?
no, I just fill in
Oh, you just, okay. That's somebody from
fill
this.
in alt. Yes.
Table those for Chairman Watson to be involved.
Fine, yeah.
And I can ask Sam and Annie to be present at the next meeting as well, to give you some more information if necessary.
You make the motion?
Motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
The board already reviewed the community preservation articles, so Article 21 through 32.
So we've already voted on those.
You've already made favorable and unfavorable
Okay.
recommendations.
So Article 33, accept funds from the municipal electric department? Yes. As much and as often. Move favorable on Article 33.
Which one was it? 33?
The financial article, yep. To accept the funds from the municipal electric department. Every year they
Oh, yeah.
give us some money. We want that money.
Any further discussion?
Why don't they just refund it to the user?
We don't have a payment, a pilot agreement with them yet. So
Maybe
this
they
is what we
just
get.
discount the rate. Maybe there's an alternative solution. How much money are we talking about?
$40,000.
40?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with it?
Goes into our, it offsets our tax rate.
Is that already plugged into our
it
proposed
is.
budget from the finance committee anticipating the 40?
The revenue, yes. Don't have much other revenue sources other than property taxes as well as local aid.
How do we get the 40 grand, or why, I should say? Is it surplus, or is it a percentage? We get a cut?
My understanding is it's due to the polls and the legal placement of the polls. I don't know, Ellen, if you remember or recall, sorry to put you on the spot, but I remember we were talking about it specifically.
We get paid for an easement?
It's kind of, but not exactly.
They don't pay taxes.
Can we shake them down? I mean,
Oh, it's been
can we get some
described
more
to
money
me.
out of them?
You'd have to talk to Kevin about that.
Yeah, there's got to be more polls than that. How many polls are there? We get a price per poll?
No. It's
Just
it's
40,
based kind of on what's available in their
arbitrarily
profits,
agreed upon.
Pretty much.
for the
Never
most
really
part.
gotten a straight answer per se. It's always kind
Yeah.
of like, that's why it's like,
Maybe we can get like 1.3 million to plug the school budget.
There you go. Now you're thinking.
I think we ought to count all the polls.
I've looked into other towns and they don't do it the same way. It is more of, because it's a municipal, the whole point of setting up a municipal is to help the ratepayer and the taxpayer, and it's
Yeah.
sort of a shared, the town gets back a certain percentage of whatever electricity they sell. It doesn't work that way here. It might not work that way in other towns as well. It could work the same way we do it in other towns, the couple I've talked to. So we've been in discussion with Kevin, I think, a while to figure out, the exact appropriate way, but 40 was what was, I think, agreed upon this year.
So it's reasonable.
we've been trying to look into it a little bit further to get a better handle on exactly why it was done this way for so long, but at the same time, as we try and figure that out, we weren't exactly gonna turn away $40,000 either. But we're definitely, because that's why I kept on looking, sorry, at Ellen, because we've been trying to figure out the exact answer as to how that number came about.
Yeah, it seemed a little
Wrong money.
odd to me.
That's all.
don't-
Because we don't have an agreement.
The handshake, we'll take it, I guess.
Yeah, that's what
We
it
do
is
want to
right
get something a little bit more formal as to why it is that way, or make sure that it's evaluated, unless it doesn't really necessarily.
But it doesn't appear to be contractual. It's just a
Not-
prior course of dealing.
But with the argument that it was something to do with the polls, and never really finding out that answer.
Yeah, it was, I was told it was a payment in lieu of taxes for the land that the pole sits on.
Well, they also don't pay taxes for their building, right?
No, they do.
They do
Because
now?
they own that building now, whereas the town owned the one they were in before.
Okay, so before they didn't pay taxes for their building. Now they do pay tax.
They do pay
real
their
estate
property
taxes?
tax bill, yep.
Okay, okay, so that's changed, yeah. But we do some of the services here in the town hall for their financial,
Yeah, you can't they're set up under a different law, municipal light departments, under a different enterprise, excuse me. We cannot allocate our hours to them. It is not legal. You can under the other enterprise funds that we have, but, well,
okay,
water
but
and
not
sewer.
under municipal light?
No, and I think it's because they were set up to almost have that share it's all set up to try to save ratepayers, taxpayers.
Money.
And it's a much older law than the newer enterprise fund laws. And it's not, we can't do that. We charge them for their direct funds.
Right.
They pay their share and
No,
their,
that's the way it was set up, and I remember we used to get a free electric bill in December. Does anybody remember that? Your lights, your Christmas lights, yep. We didn't pay. That went away quite a while ago. Now we get billed for every month.
yeah,
but
we
thank
are
you.
working on getting like more of a
An idea.
calculation that we can assess every year.
Okay, that's fair.
I wouldn't say no to 40 grand though, for the taxpayers.
Okay.
So more favorable to take money from the municipal electric department and use it?
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna vote.
Yeah.
Well in favor.
You second it, so
Yeah.
all in favor, great.
Okay. Is Article 34 the overlay money?
Yes.
Okay. So we do that every year. We transfer an amount from the overlay surplus to help balance the taxes. Is it 50,000?
Yes.
That's what it was last year?
It was lower last year.
Okay, so we got a little better, but the year before it was 50,000.
Yes, it's
Okay.
been historically around that.
Okay. So I'm favorable. It's a standard
How much
article.
money?
50,000.
That's how much the Board of Assessors agreed to release an overlay.
Thought it was always like $1.30 or 40, no?
The last few fiscal years,
Last time you were
Yeah.
on the board, it might have been. I
Yeah,
saw
last
that.
time I was on the board, what happened?
That's what we all like.
See what happens when I go away? It goes from $1.40 to 50.
Yep, it was. If you look in the history,
Oh.
it did kind of spike up there. It's the amount they released to the surplus from the overlay.
It's the amount they released. Is that
Correct.
discretionary or is it formula-based? I mean, what it's based on? Can we grab more?
it's formula-based and it's based upon the properties that that are not paying their taxes, so that we need to have that money available.
So there's a reserve for arrearage.
Yes. So based upon the calculation, and just recently, we talked with DLS and we revised that calculation to be reflective of what they were requesting, and it really did show us last year that we couldn't have released as much as we typically do, and this year, because of everything that's been improving in those accounts, we were able to release a little bit more.
So we're moving in the right direction.
It's the best we can do. Okay,
Move favorable?
favorable.
Second.
All in favor?
Transfer the funds from free cash to,
That's the $85,000 that we
the
use
OPEB.
for OPEB from our free cash account. So all of those are being used, both the 40, 50, and 85, for a total of $175,000 to reduce the fiscal year 2024 tax rate.
and that's all in Article 35? Right?
The 85,000, yeah.
Yes. So I move favorable on 35.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
And Article 36 is to get rid of the variance that the auditors spoke to us about.
Yes.
So you came in later that night, Dan, remember the 243,000, right? Or 143, what is it? 243 or 143?
Is that the variance they were
Yeah,
dragging
mhm.
forward every
Yeah, that-
single year for more
remember
than
it?
a decade?
Yes, they want to, they're now.
Ever.
They say that the Ellen and everybody has determined that it can now be written off.
Well, is that just the book entry? Is Ellen here?
No, I don't think it's a book entry from the sounds of the article.
It's just a reclassification entry. Is that what it is? I mean, or is it?
We're moving money from stabilization.
We have to cover the difference as a
So
variance
it's gonna go from stabilization to what?
to offset that variance.
Well, how's it gonna be booked? There's two
Right.
entries on every entry.
I defer to the town accountant and how it's going to be booked.
What's the offsetting entry? Debit and
I
credit,
think in discussion with the auditors, we're gonna hit
fund
beginning
balance?
fund balance. Yeah,
So fund balance is really kind of doesn't represent the true cash, does it? Fund balance, it's
well,
just,
it's like incorporated, it's like your equity section.
yeah, okay. They're running total, but you can't get at it. It's just a number.
No, I know what's
Right.
in there.
You know what's in there?
Yeah.
So we had a deficit of 200,000 and that was in a cash account?
Yes, so accountant, I reconciled to the cash book, which
Yeah.
is where they record all the ins and outs, which the cash book reconciles to the bank accounts, but there was two bank accounts, I think, that one was in our favor, but that was only 44,000. One is not in our favor, which nets to the number you're seeing there. I believe they're trying to go through it and determine, I mean, that's the number they've had for months now. They do have it reconciled.
And from multiple accounts, because I understood we had 30 some
No,
odd
so it's
accounts.
the vendor payable account.
Okay.
So it's where everything gets transferred and all the checks get cashed from.
So once this is done, it's effectively a reset of those accounts, and so
That account is closed
Okay.
and has been closed. Checks are good for a year.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of this month, I might have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the end of March. The last check written out of that account will be a year old. So that's why we're waiting until now.
Right.
And they have had the same variance for like 6-8 months now. So that's how we came to that number.
You froze
We
it.
opened an entirely new vendor account that is up to date and
Froze the variance, and it was dragged forward, so it didn't move at all.
correct.
All right, one more question, because I missed that part of the meeting. Wasn't required to footnote it, but did they, the CPAs ultimately decide to disclose it within the
think we-
financials?
I think we talked about that, how it would be a negative disclosure. There's some audit term for it that
They're
I'm not-
unaware of things. It's a negative.
that you're
sharp-
not allowed to, you can't do that in your financials. So that's why we had it in the management letter, because that was the best place to put it to, show that
Disclose it to
you're
the
disclosing
public.
everything. Yeah.
Okay. Without it violating gas. Government auditing standards. Fun stuff if you're bored.
So we can move favorable? Second.
All in favor?
We don't have to hear about that anymore. We've done it. And we're buying more cable stuff? Peg access? Or are we just setting up?
It's just the monies that we appropriate every year to allow them to spend.
Yep. up
It's
to
the same as
Oh,
last
for
year.
the salaries, not, so I'll move favorable.
On which article?
37 for the cable access. We have to pay them to record our meetings and hang out with us.
Talking 37 or 36?
37.
37's PAG access.
36 is
Just did.
you just did, yeah. 37 is the PEG, but that's the same as cable, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's cable. I don't know why it's called PEG.
It's the acronym.
I know, I don't recall why is PEG and not cable something, but it's,
Public education.
oh, probably something like that.
How much money?
The same as last year, up to
It's
$250,000.
the cable fund.
Doesn't mean that we'd spend it, it's
Yeah,
just
but
a
it's
spending
37
limit
here.
up to
No, it's 36, not 36.
What's the source of the 250?
the
Yeah.
Comcast monies, the agreement, and under the contract, what we
Do I
get.
have the right article number here? 37?
They screwed up because it's
Yes, it is
36 on this paper.
I wouldn't necessarily go by the article numbers as much as
Oh,
the
as
article.
the article. So,
So,
Just saying.
so Article 35 was,
So which-
when did I
where'd
get
we get
off?
screwed up
Mark's
on
right,
that?
Around
it's
33?
inconsistent on the label.
Where'd we get screwed
We
up
need to
is
go
my
back
question.
and just,
So did we vote all the wrong numbers?
That's what I'm wondering.
well, the article numbers, I have.
Article
them-
numbers
Everything.
are subject to change, because that's when you vote the warrant. But the
Okay.
article, like the article
So is
language
it
is
all right
So
that
the
we're-
number is irrelevant.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the.
because your
Okay.
public, when you are on
All
April
right.
10th, you will vote on the warrant itself, and all of that will be done.
Okay.
But now we're just
So, move
changing,
favorable to
moving,
appropriate funds for the PEG access, cable TV.
and it's
Seconded.
public education and government access.
All in favor?
That's it, yep. Okay. And so, authorized bond premium for Center Street land purchase.
Seconded.
What does that mean for us? We getting money? Are we losing money?
So it's on the modernization bill that was passed, it's language that we need to have in our warrant to allow us to use the bond premiums to pay down our debt.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Dan was in favor of that, too.
Yes, jumped out of his seat for that.
7-minute stretch, I'm all for.
Just kidding.
Yeah, pay down the debt.
Pay down the debt.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Transfer water retained earnings and sewer retained earnings are the standard water department articles for their budget.
Yes, those are both articles
then-
for the Water and Sewer Commission that were voted
So-
on by the Water and Sewer Commission.
Make favorable recommendation for the water and sewer articles for their budgets.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Yep. Second.
Those are standard.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Is the authorized for borrowing for a well, is that the water and sewer department too?
That's correct, and the Water and Sewer Commissioner, Superintendent is here if you have any specific questions.
Is it gonna raise my water rates, or is it gonna just use up money? Borrowing for well development. Is that gonna raise any change in prices for water or not? No, authorized borrowing for well development.
So essentially, yes. Initially, it's just gonna be upon anticipation though.
Okay.
It'll be interest only. Factored into the budget for FY '24, it does not include any water rate increase.
And this won't have any impact on the taxes. This is just the people that utilize the water and sewer.
Right, raises
Correct,
water.
it's paid through by the enterprise fund, it's not paid for by the taxpayers. The only impact is to our status in terms of paying our bond and our interest and making principal payments and making sure that we're paying.
So, I guess we'll move favorable. If we need another well, we need another well.
What number is this one on?
This one
40 for you.
is 40, so the other two were not the budget, that was,
Yes, that was retained earnings, my apologies. The-
yeah.
The following ones are for the actual budget.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
And then the next article is the budget. So. Were any employees in here done as part of the salary study as well? Were they included? Okay.
Correct,
So are there adjustments here in line with what the other 10 employees are getting?
correct.
Okay.
And my understanding is that the Water and Sewer Commission did vote on those.
Are there numbers on that?
In the actual article?
Yeah.
Yes.
Higher? Last year?
In the article itself, it gives you the FY '23 approved budget and the FY '24 requested, so you can see the increases.
They want 1.2 million, up from 1.174. What percentage is that?
That's for the water
And
department,
then the sewer
and
department.
then the sewer is separate.
Sewer is smaller. Smaller section of town.
Sewer went from 666 to 671, $5,000.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Want
Might be low,
to move
but don't
favorable
tell anyone
on
I
both?
said that.
You want to move them one at a time or both at the same time?
Doing both, fine.
You make a motion of favorable?
Motion favorable on both.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Oh, and
Let's skip that one. That last.
that's the red herring. I was wondering where that one was hidden. Or red numbered. So that article, it includes the override amount, right?
That's
So then
correct.
the override amount is not in the omnibus, it comes in the article.
Yes.
That's when we'll discuss it at town meeting. That makes sense. That will kind of get the omnibus through rather quickly, I would hope. Okay. So do we want to table the discussion of the school override, or do you want to?
I think they're both significant, and Chairman Watson should be at the table.
Yeah. Do you want
Motion
me
to table, please.
Second.
All in favor?
So I will go through and I can, both those articles in the beginning regarding the easement are both ones that I put forward, so I can answer questions in regards to those, or I can come back and I can show you more of a plan if you'd like to see a plan for the parcels. That's fine, and then I'll double check with both Sam and Annie about attending the next meeting to discuss in more detail the zoning bylaw articles, but otherwise, from my record, it looks like you've gave favorable recommendation on all the other articles, which is helpful for me to start getting drafted and organized, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
What are we tabling now?
I'd like to see the plans.
Yeah, they're already
Yeah.
tabled. I'm saying I can
Yeah.
come back with the plan and show you that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to tell you that we'll follow up on those few articles, but otherwise, everything else has been voted on, so thank you.
So we don't have very much left on this warrant to deal with at the next meeting. That's good. So this article, to defray, raise appropriate transfer sums, I don't know what that is.
The last article,
Well, no, I know the one that's set to vote to set the salary and compensation, I get that. But the one above it, I don't. Oh, is
That's
this
where
where you're gonna
the-
put the
the
omnibus?
omnibus,
Duh.
yeah.
Okay, never mind. Okay. I saw add line budget and it just didn't click. Thank
Alright.
you. I get it.
Now, we still have to vote to close the warrant.
yes, and that will be done at the next meeting. No, well, yes, sorry, yes, you have to vote to close the warrant, post the warrant at the next meeting.
Yeah,
But
we'll
we're
post next
closing
time,
it.
But we're closing now, so we're not
Yes.
gonna add anything to it.
Yes,
So I'll make a motion to close the warrant for the FY
2023.
2023 annual town meeting, right? Okay. You want to keep the warrant
Any
open or
further
what?
discussion? All in favor? All right, votes of the board is to accept the resignation of Joe Demore from the Government Study and Town Bylaw Finishing Committee effective April 1st, 2023.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Thank Joe Demore for his service to the towns, truly appreciated. Helped us get to where we are today. Given us a lot of hours and work.
Yes, and also, I'd like to point out that a lot of the work that he's done is gonna continue on for many years to come. Any further discussion? All in favor? And then to accept the disclosure of Terry Grimm as a special employee under General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20D.
Discussion?
Yes.
It's a special employee.
We are.
He's currently on the,
Exempt from overtime, stipend, what does it involve?
It's in the ethics quiz when you take it.
he's currently on the water sewer. What he's disclosing is he's also on the Conservation
No,
Commission.
but he said
Paid
what's
his
his special-
stipends under the Conservation Commission, and as an elected official, he's also paid as a elected official. Stipends is paid to the Water and Sewer Commission, so he's paid in both capacities. Even if he doesn't elect to take the stipends from the Conservation Commission.
Did he elect, or did he opt out?
I don't know.
So is it a double dip or no?
No, it's
He's
not.
worried
It's two
about the
separate-
double dip.
It's two separate,
He's getting paid to do
entities.
two jobs, effectively.
From what I understand,
compensated, I should say.
he has declined his Conservation Commission stipends. He does not take that.
Full favorable.
So would this allow him to participate in both?
So as an elected official, he needs to file a disclosure with the town clerk. But as an appointed conservation member, he needs to file a disclosure with his appointing authority, which would be the Board of Selectmen. So it's just a disclosure form. It doesn't require a person to recuse themselves or to remove themselves. It's just a matter of record. that
So
they're-
we don't have to vote on this?
Essentially, you just need to accept the disclosure form.
Oh, okay. So do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to accept the disclosure form.
Second.
all in favor?
Free Coke on you.
Town administrator time?
So I just have a couple of items. I just wanted to let the board know that I had a great meeting with the newly elected district attorney as well as our public safety officials here in Groveland and also in Merrimack and West Newbury. We are also joined by the other town administrators in our neighboring towns as well as the school administration. We spoke with the DA about a couple of items and specifically his initiatives in his administration, but also to talk about some of the challenges that we're facing here in town, and specifically in terms of the aid and the support that we receive from the state and how that has a trickle-down effect on the way that the town is able to provide services, specifically in the area of public safety. I also had the pleasure of participating in the hazard mitigation kickoff meeting. We really discussed the timeline, administrative requirements, and discussed outreach and engagement. The hazard mitigation plan is for our long-term strategy to reduce disaster and losses. Our hazard mitigation plan has actually expired, so we are participating in a regional effort to renew this plan. The plan will be good for 5 years, and it allows us to apply for a lot of federal funds. This is extremely important for us as being a smaller town because some of our larger plans, like our Salem Street Dam, is going to be an extremely expensive project, and being able to qualify for federal funds will help us accomplish that project. So we're looking forward to having an approved hazard mitigation plan and seeking those funds so that we don't have to go back to the taxpayers. Also, we've been working on the budget, as you've seen in the annual town meeting, and we are creating a specific page on our website. The website will entail a lot more information and answer some frequently asked questions that people have had, including the impact on their taxes and some more specifics in regards to warrant articles and anything of that nature. Once the warrant's posted, it will be there as well. And I'd like to work with the town clerk and also link to her page for some of the election information so that people can just click on one page and get all of that information, town meeting, election, override information, and it's all easily accessible. So hopefully the website designers will be able to upload that. They've had the information for a couple of days now, so we're eagerly awaiting that. And then also working with Chris LaCory with the cable department, just to let you all know that we are completing our head-end server move over at the public safety building. So we're taking our server that's located over in the front of the office and when you first walk in, and we're moving it back where the other equipment is, in that room that you sometimes have your meetings in. So we will be off air on both channels, channel 9 and 22, for about 3 days. However, any of the meetings that are happening in that time frame, if there is any, which is unlikely, but if there is, we will be able to record them and get them up on YouTube. So they will be recorded. They just won't be live.
Does anybody have any old or unfinished business they'd like to discuss? Any items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting? We have correspondence here for the National Grid regarding their upcoming vegetation maintenance, which basically goes under all of their lines where the new rail trail is. So it's not the rail trail that's creating the maintenance, but the electric company just doing what they are supposed to be doing. And then we have voter petitioned articles for the annual town meeting. I imagine we can all look at those and discuss them during the next meeting. And the last one, I was informed that it may be a little too soon to discuss this one. I'll leave that one off. And then Selectmen's times and reports.
Just cross it off. No, you're not going to hear this.
Not right now.
No, I don't have any new news at this point.
Mark? Dan?
Yeah, just that, it's a big year financially, and, hope as many people in town as possible can, get involved and, try to be informed about, the budget and the, school district's budget, so that, when you vote, and I hope you do vote, you're, fully informed about, whether or not, you believe, we need a Prop 2.5 override, and make the best informed decision you can make.
I'll definitely echo those sentiments. It's important to get the information. And I think one of the underutilized resources is a school committee, because they are elected by us. So those are the people that have that information. They're the ones that discuss it, and those are the people you should probably be talking to. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:03 PM.
Seconded.
All in favor?